BMW just dropped devastating news, sending shockwaves throughout the automotive industry and driving its stock price into freefall. After half a year of steady decline, the $51 billion company saw its stock plummet another 10% in a single day. BMW finally revealed the elephant in the room, a massive recall that's been 2 years in the making. Yes, it took BMW 2 years to realize there was an issue, and now that problem, coupled with many others, is spiraling into a financial disaster. This first particular recall centers around a faulty integrated braking system supplied to BMW and installed in 1.5 million vehicles worldwide. The issue will cost the company what they cleverly describe as a high three-digit million euro charge in the third quarter alone. But let's be real, that's corporate speak for close to €1 billion. And the impact doesn't stop there. BMW has had to halt deliveries of affected vehicles, casting a shadow over its sales forecasts for the remainder of the year. According to the company, the faulty braking system was first flagged during an internal quality check, triggering a recall in February. However, new cases beyond the original scope of the recall continued to surface, ultimately forcing BMW to expand the campaign to over 1.5 million cars across 5 countries, including 370,000 in China and 270,000 units in the US. BMW spokesperson emphasized that while the likelihood of a brake malfunction is low, the system should revert to a safe mode if something goes wrong. That sounds reassuring, but safe mode still means drivers would have to press harder on the brake pedal than usual, an unnerving proposition for those behind the wheel of a luxury vehicle. To mitigate the fallout, BMW has developed a somewhat bizarre diagnostic software capable of detecting the brake fault before it occurs, but a warning will prompt drivers to visit a dealership for a system replacement that thankfully is free of charge, but may be a nerve-wracking experience. However, with 1.2 million of these vehicles already in the hands of customers, BMW's road to recovery looks steep. Interestingly, 300,000 of these vehicles are still held by BMW itself or sitting on dealer lots, awaiting the same fix. This is a bit of a double-edged sword. On one hand, BMW can correct the issue before these cars hit the road, potentially dodging a safety nightmare. On the other hand, these unsold vehicles are stacking up like dead weight, creating extra financial strain and making BMW's sales numbers appear healthier than they really are. Compare that to Tesla's direct-to-consumer model, which bypasses dealerships altogether. This gives Tesla a significant advantage when it comes to handling issues like this, allowing them to react quickly and directly with customers. In contrast, BMW's reliance on third-party dealerships slows everything down, revealing how outdated and clunky their traditional approach has become in a world where speed and flexibility are king. Adding to the challenge is the fact that BMW vehicles are designed with highly precise German engineering, typically renowned for its high quality, but notoriously expensive to repair due to the need for specialized tools and expertise. Owning a BMW often requires a significant financial commitment, as the cost for repairs and maintenance can be quite high due to the brand's intricate engineering. This is one reason why many drivers choose to lease instead of own, as it provides access to a luxury vehicle without the hefty long-term repair bills. And as it turns out, BMW has a massive leasing program. In a recent article, Reuters highlights that Europe's electric vehicle market is heavily reliant on leasing models, but this structure is now under strain. Leasing has played a pivotal role in driving EV adoption across the continent by making the higher upfront costs of electric cars more manageable for consumers. However, the model is facing challenges as residual values, the estimated resale prices of the EVs at the end of the lease, have dropped significantly, particularly in markets like Britain and Germany. This is a key risk because leasing companies depend on reselling vehicles after the lease to recover costs. With EV resale prices dropping due to oversupply and slower adoption, leasing EVs may become less profitable, leading to higher rates or fewer leasing options. This could slow down this type of EV adoption in Europe, further impacting BMW. Surprisingly, lease rates across all car models and fuel types is set to be 60% in Europe, with it being as high as 80% for EVs. According to Kelley Blue Book, in the United States, an astounding 89% of all BMWs were leased in the first quarter of this year. However, these numbers sound legitimate, but may need to be taken with a grain of salt, since they also state that Tesla leases 23% of its vehicles. Yet, in Tesla's Q1 2024 report, they show that only 2% of Model Y and Model 3 is subject to lease accounting, and that number drops even lower to 1% for Tesla's higher-end vehicles like Model S, X, and now Cybertruck. Even hypothetically, if 100% of these leases originated in Europe, that's still under 10,000 cars across all of Tesla, which means more buyers are paying Tesla cash up front, whether they own or finance, versus companies like BMW, which may have a tougher time making money off of leasing going forward. Tesla is actually known for having fairly high residual values, and in the past few years, the only thing causing the value of Teslas to drop is Tesla itself lowering the prices of its own vehicles. But this strategy seems to drastically impact competitors, and historically BMW has been most vulnerable to Tesla eating into its share of the market. There also seems to be more trouble brewing at BMW. Just a few weeks ago, in late August, there was another recall affecting 720,000 BMW vehicles due to a water pump malfunction that may cause a fire. Interestingly, USA Today rewrote the article a few days later in a misleading way to try and throw Tesla under the bus by bumping up the number of recalls to 743,000 cars recalled, even though 97% of them are actually a problem with BMW. In light of these setbacks, BMW cut its 2024 earnings margin forecast for its automotive segment to 6 to 7%, down from 8 to 10%. It may not seem like much, but that's a fairly big drop. If all of their profit comes from just 10% of their sales, and now they're expecting it to drop to, say, 7%, that's a 30% hit to shareholder net income. The company also lowered its expected return on capital to 11 to 13% from a previous 15 to 20%, marking one of the company's toughest financial years in recent history, which is also why the stock price has taken a huge hit. Surprisingly, the BMW brand is actually doing relatively well in the realm of electric vehicles. In the first half of 2024, they grew battery electric vehicles by 34% over the previous year and sold 179,000 units. That's about 15% of their sales being EVs, which is pretty impressive. Toyota, for example, is less than 1% EVs. Back in July, it was reported that BMW actually surpassed Tesla in European EV sales. Now, this is true. They did edge Tesla out by a few hundred vehicles for the month, according to EU EVs, which tracks sales in 14 European countries. However, a portion of Tesla's European sales are imported from China, which has a bit of a lumpy schedule. Tesla's Giga Berlin only produces Model Y, whereas Model 3 is imported, and usually the bulk of the shipments arrive in the third month of every quarter, July being the first month of the quarter. And so Tesla is still a force to be reckoned with in Europe, despite having a weaker July. The media jumps on this as if it's the end of Tesla, but its short-term wishful thinking has so far been a counter-indicator. Now, the European Union has proposed new tariffs on EVs coming from China into Europe. This will make Chinese-made vehicles less competitive versus the domestic players, as China prepares to flood the continent with its electric cars. At the same time, the European automakers are actually struggling in China, and so they're being attacked from all sides. Part of BMW's forecast revision has to do with, quote, dwindling demand in China, which is impacting sales volumes despite stimulus measures from the government. Yet we're hearing the opposite from Tesla, with Elon Musk reassuring investors last week that Tesla's Giga Shanghai is operating at maximum capacity. And so the European automakers are bracing themselves for a shockwave of EVs, which may prove that domestic EV production is still not high enough to withstand the coming onslaught. Imports in Europe already have a 10% duty, so any tariff that's introduced is in addition to that. We heard not long ago that Tesla will pay a 9% rate, but according to Reuters, this will be reduced to 7.8%. Other Chinese automakers like BYD, for example, will pay 17% in tariffs, Geely 18%, and SAIC 35%. Again, this only applies to imports. There's a way around, which is to build plants domestically, and recently it was reported that Chinese company NIO may want to take over a plant from Volkswagen in Belgium. It's only a matter of time before production plants are set up onshore to bypass the tariffs. Tesla already has domestic production of Model Y with its Giga Berlin factory. Only Model 3 comes from China. S and X would be coming from the US. Tesla could technically ship Model 3 from the US if they find that it's cheaper in order to bypass these new China tariffs. However, it's a bit strange that only one type of vehicle is being produced at Giga Berlin. It's of course unlikely that Tesla built an entire gigafactory just to produce one type of model. Elon Musk has said that new Tesla models will be introduced in early 2025 that will be cheaper and make use of the same production lines that Tesla already has. While they won't contain Tesla's novel unbox process, they will have some new technology. And so Giga Berlin is working on something else that could come in and impact not only the EV industry, but the entire vehicle industry from inside of Europe. And as per my last video on the Tesla Semi, the Semi will soon be produced at Giga Berlin within the next few years. And so domestic companies like BMW and Volkswagen, Mercedes, etc. are being attacked from all angles. They're doing poorly in China while China is coming into the EU full force. And Tesla is already producing locally, but seems poised to soon pull a new lever to try and increase production of different models in Europe. Now, earlier this month, BMW CEO Oliver Zipse joined forces with Koji Sato, the CEO of Toyota, to introduce a novel partnership in creating a new hydrogen fuel cell vehicle by 2028. Toyota already sells the Mirai today, and BMW has the iX5, which is a hydrogen-powered vehicle in the prototype phase. However, hydrogen vehicle sales in the US have essentially collapsed, with only 322 units sold in the first half of this year, an 82% drop from a year ago, according to The Verge. This raises questions about BMW's strategy, especially as the company shifts engineering resources away from its growing EV market, where 15% of its output is already battery electric vehicles. Toyota has its own challenges in the EV space, but at least continues to dominate the hybrid market. BMW is doing well in EVs. Why would they suddenly shift to hydrogen? Elon Musk has been vocal in his opposition to hydrogen-powered cars, calling them fool cells. His recent success in disrupting the LiDAR industry only strengthens his reputation for bold predictions. Even Monroe Live, where car specialist Sandy Monroe deconstructs vehicles to reveal hidden gems and teach viewers about cars, they recently polled their audience, revealing little interest in hydrogen cars. With hydrogen fuel costing more than gasoline, Musk's skepticism appears to be justified, though Toyota and BMW remain determined to try and prove him wrong. BMW's current struggles are a stark reminder of the volatility within the automotive industry, where a single misstep can have massive financial and reputational consequences. The company is navigating multiple challenges, from safety recalls to evolving market dynamics in China and Europe. While BMW has seen success in electric vehicles, it's now faced with a tough decision about its future direction, including a controversial push into hydrogen fuel cells. Whether this shift will pay off or further hinder the company remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, BMW's future will be shaped by how it handles these mounting pressures and the increasing competition from both legacy automakers and disruptors like Tesla. So how do you see the future of BMW and the European auto market with the increasing presence of Chinese automakers and Tesla's production ramp and the new tariffs and tensions heating up across Europe? Don't forget to watch my last video on Tesla's new semi-truck variant. Please hit the like button and subscribe, we would really appreciate that. And a huge shout out to all of our patrons that help to support our channel. Your support helps us to continue to make great content. Thank you guys so much for watching.